Welcome to the People Leaders Podcast, the audio resource for managers and business leaders creating high-performing teams. Join leadership and team development experts Jan and Michelle Turkelson each week as they explore both subjects from every angle. Through practical tips, valuable insights, and compelling interviews with leadership experts around the world, you'll learn how to bring out the best in your staff and how to give your best as a leader.
Greetings,
Jan and everyone else.
Yeah.
Today is going to be an interesting one because we have selected what we believe are the top 3 skills
for people leadership.
Yeah, that's right. That every really good people leader would want to spend some time and energy on becoming really good at and masterful at.
Yeah. And so those 3 are feedback, the ability to give and receive feedback.
Yes. The next one is coaching, of course. And so coaching is about supporting people that work with you to be more effective and having them involved in the process.
That's right. And delegation.
That's an interesting one. Some people might say, why did you choose delegation? And all will be revealed. So these are our top 3 based on our experience with people leaders over the years and what we think would have the biggest impact if people were to become really effective.
And also, with the changing environment about how we are managing teams now, we absolutely need these 3 skills, whether or not you're managing a virtual team or a face-to-face team. So let's have a look at the first one. And what we're going to do is we're going to give you a model for each skill. So it's something that you can
we love
practice.
Models, and then you can download the template as well.
Yeah,
great.
So feedback is the first one, and the model that we use is the SBIN model. So SBIN, it stands for situation, behaviour, impact,
and next steps, like what now? What are we going to do about it?
That's good. All right, so let's have a look at the first one, the situation. So when you're giving feedback, it's so important to define the parameters and the context, the where and when of the situation, what you're referring to. And if you don't start with that, the situation, people are going to get lost about what are we having this conversation for? What do they want from me? So it's really important. The reason why I'm having this conversation is to give you some feedback about the presentation this morning or the conversation you had with the stakeholder last week. So there and then that person is focused about what it is that you're referring to.
That's great. So the next part of the tool is the behaviour. So we've described the situation. So the next step is really to describe the specific behaviours that you want to address in this conversation.
And I think this can be some of the most challenging parts.
That's right, because you have to communicate what you saw.
Directly,
That's right, and do it in a way that still engages the person in the process that they want to hear more.
Yeah, and not make assumptions or subjective judgments about those behaviours. And we've just done a podcast about the importance of not making assumptions.
Yeah.
So it's being really clear about the behaviours that you observed.
Otherwise it's totally going to undermine the feedback that you're giving. Yeah, without doubt.
That's right.
So don't rely on hearsay or subjective judgments. You can really only go on the things that you have observed.
That's right. And it's being specific. So in the presentation, don't just say, you made a couple of mistakes or you rushed through.
Yeah.
It was about what those specific mistakes were, the pace, the way in which you delivered the message. Did you scan the room? Did you connect with people? Did you ask questions or did you race through it? So it's actually getting as specific as you can.
That's right. And the thing is, when we are actually, so this is a feedback tool, not all feedback is negative. It could be, what we want to be able to do is have a balance, and we encourage people leaders to actually tip the balance in the positive. Every time. However, if you do have to give corrective feedback, so be it, but you want to be giving feedback, and the more positive, the better. So it could be at yesterday's sales meeting, for example. It was great. You started on time. You gave the handouts to everybody. You were correct in your calculations, whatever that was.
And then you go into the really measurable information or description of the behaviour, because this ensures that your comments or your observations are objective. So, for example, it could be, I noticed that, you connected eye to eye with 3 people in the room, whereas there were 10, and you didn't connect with the main stakeholder.
Yeah.
Am I right to assume that, because maybe you weren't watching all the time, but be really clear and give measurable, definable examples of the behaviour.
Okay, so that's situation, behaviour. Now we're coming to the impact. So what is this is the so what factor. What is the impact that this behaviour has had on you as a people leader? What impact has it had on the team, on the reputation? So you need to be very descriptive as to the impact.
And when you look at this model, the SBI, so I is impact, but it's also I statements.
Yeah,
so
great.
when you did that, this is how it impacted me or how I felt.
Yeah, I felt embarrassed or I felt proud. What are some of those things that you could honestly
feedback doesn't
say?
necessarily always have to be negative.
That's right. Yeah.
And like when you come in late, like I feel that we aren't. The whole team is disrespected because then we can't allocate our jobs and things like that.
Yeah,
so
that's right. Or because of the hard work that you've been putting into, this account, I feel really confident that we are going to get the next sales, sales
and I'm proud
pitch.
of you. Good job.
Yeah, great. So SB, I for impact, and N is what next? What are the next steps for you, for me, in terms of moving into action and what we can do about it? So next steps for you, I'd love you to, keep going in terms of the quality of your presentation.
Or even mentor someone.
Great,
if they've
fantastic.
got like really good skills that you've seen.
Is there anything that I could support you with?
Yeah. And the other thing about next steps is sometimes, when you have to be really clear, is that can we make an agreement that this is not going to happen again, especially if someone was, rude or they did something that was quite negatively impacting the team, is, this is what I want to be clear about. So having the courage to be clear about what it is that you want to see more of or less of when you're giving someone feedback.
So what we've actually done is we've taken one side with balance, and that is actually giving somebody feedback. The other side of that is actually asking someone for feedback, and we really want to encourage people to get into that state or that mindset where they are asking someone to feedback. You can still use the SBIN model in terms of, at last week's presentation, I'd love for you to give me some feedback on my behaviours, the impact that it had on you and the team, and what you think we should do next. So you see how you can balance that out.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay, so that's one of the top skills for a people leader. The next one is coaching.
And like with coaching isn't telling.
No.
It's not mentoring. It's not teaching, but it has a
it's me supporting you. You know what I mean? I, as a people leader, want to support you in your own development. So we're going to do this together, and I'm going to do it in a way that is constructive. I'm going to question, encourage, and really, that 80-20 rule, I'm going to get you to, come up with most of the solutions.
Yeah. And it's focused on solutions.
Yeah.
It promotes and strengthens that professional performance and personal success and development. And I think, one of the catchphrases in coaching is, how do we move forward?
Yeah, great.
Because it is about moving forward and developing, with providing training and guidance and learning and support, yeah? And the model that we use is the GROW model.
Yeah.
It is people use it all over the world. It's a simple model and it works.
That's right. So the acronym GROW stands for goal, reality, options, and then wrap up. So let's start with goal briefly.
Yeah, so the reason why you would start with goal is, again, providing context or purpose. So if you were to have a coaching conversation with someone, one of the questions I would say is, what would you like to discuss? Or we've got half an hour. What would be 3 key issues that would really make this worthwhile?
I know, and so often managers think that they have to actually come up with the agenda in terms of what we're going to discuss. But if you give people enough time and energy to say, I'm going to hand it over to you, these are the sorts of questions I'm going to ask you, you will get into that rhythm of them having more control. So that's goal.
Yeah, and another question for a goal is, what would you need to happen for you to walk away feeling that this was really time well spent? And like you said, you form a relationship with the person, so you go into conversations with a clear and directed focus, because that's what's going to make you effective.
Good. And so that's the goal part. The next is reality. So this is really looking at, so what is the situation right now? What is working right now? What's not working? How often does this happen? Is there any other relevant information or other relevant people that have been involved? So it's actually just
situation analysis,
that's
isn't
right.
it? And a lot of the coaching is spent a bit of time on the reality because your reality might be different from mine or someone else's perspective. And the coach, or when you're coaching someone, this is the key, is to allow someone to have an expanded perspective on the event or the situation, because it allows you to be more flexible in your thinking.
Absolutely. And flexibility, that's a nice segue, Jan, into once you have a good reality section, then you actually might need to go back to your goal and say, actually, what I really do want to talk about is this, difficult situation I'm having right now in relation to somebody. Now that I've had time to uncover and sort
that's
it out.
right. Yeah, so it's not a linear conversation.
Yeah.
However, if you have some structure or focus, it allows a more, I suppose, impactful, conscious conversation.
Discussion. Yeah, definitely.
And so with the reality, then the next step is options. So that's the O, what are the options? What is possible for you with what you've got right now? And some of the questions are.
And then, you want to say to people, don't go into the, how realistic is it and, it'll never work type scenario. Just explore the options. We're not saying you have to land on the options and these are going to be the ones that you have to sign in blood, but it's just about, what are the possible options in relation to this situation that we're trying to work through together.
That's right. And when someone comes up with that option, I always, is there another approach? Is there anything else? Have we thought of everything?
That's right. What do you think the consequences might be of that option as opposed to the other option?
And what criteria do you have you created that allowed you to come up with those options? Because the criteria is, I need to get it done in a certain time. Is that an assumption? And being a manager, you might know more about that, or how important it is to a stakeholder.
Great.
And then the last one is wrap up.
That's right. And that is about tying everything together so that it's not just, we had a great discussion and you left it hanging. What you want to be able to do is really solidify this conversation so that you can allow the person to either move into action, to think differently, to behave differently, to get some sort of insight that allows them to be more productive, efficient, or, better, basically.
So some of the things that I would usually say is, so what are the next steps?
Yeah.
Or based on the conversation that we had, what are some of the key insights? Or based on what we've just said, what would you be doing differently? How would you be different as a result of this?
I know, and this is one of the, I like to, for managers to put in, so how can I support you?
Oh, definitely that.
It could be, how can I support you, or what would you like me to do to support you, and those
or
sorts
even
of
what
questions.
Support do you need?
Yeah, fantastic. And and you could get even more sort of definitive, and that could be, so what are your next 3 steps?
Yeah.
And what's the time frame for that? It really does depend on the nature of the conversation. But yeah, we've had a look at goal, reality, options, and wrap up, and that's the GROW model.
Yeah. Now, I suppose the other thing that I wanted to share with you is when you're having a conversation with your manager, sometimes the people leader thinks it's their responsibility to write the notes and, syndicate. We really encourage people to own their own material.
Yeah.
And so if I'm being coached by my manager, the leader, we encourage people leaders to say, can you just put in bullet points what we discussed or what we agreed or what your next steps are? Because then that person actually owns that conversation. It's not you owning that. And it's in writing, and something actually happens when you write it down and that you share. It's more of that commitment-based kind of reality that happens.
Great. So let's have a look at the last one. And the last one might seem a bit curious to people. Like, why did you choose delegation? And the thing is, delegation has so many benefits that, benefits for you, benefits for the team. And, one benefit is that it actually helps your team grow. If you want your team to grow, then start delegating some tasks based on their skill sets or their areas of interest that you're able to do. Because I have not met any manager that says, I've got a pretty easy workload. Everybody has something that they could delegate to other members of the team that they would want to take on board.
And so what it does, it instills trust.
Yeah.
Like even the meaning of or the origins of delegate, which is delegare, which means send on a commission, and then Latin and English delegation means kind of like delegated power. So what you're doing is you're allowing that person to step into your position of authority in order to do that role, and that's trust.
Trust, that's
and,
right.
You know, this is one thing, Michelle, that every team needs to do in order to be high performing is to have trust earning behaviours.
That's right.
And as a people leader, you need to demonstrate that.
And what better way to do that? And you're feeding two birds with one stone is through delegation, because you're getting something off your plate, but you're also allowing them to grow and develop. Like, how can that not be a good thing? And that's like, this is a superpower, really.
Yeah,
that's
to do
why
it
we
well.
put it in. Yeah, totally.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. And you're only going to get good at something is if you practice it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, oh, but my team are already too, like busy. So ask. This is what I'm thinking of delegating. This is a piece of work.
Yes, who wants it?
Yeah, or I'm thinking of you because of these skills.
Great, that's great. So, and think about, what am I delegating? Don't delegate the crap. We remember that, However, it might be
your
crap
person's,
to you.
One
person's crap is another person's learning opportunity.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So the model that we use is the crow model, and the reason why we said the crow model is because it fits. But also crows,
easy to remember.
Yeah, I know, but crows are really intelligent and adaptable, and that's what you have to be when you delegate.
Yeah,
you really have to have a couple of skill sets. So our CROW model stands for CROW, and C stands for context.
Yes, R is for resources, O is for outcomes or outputs, and W is for the wins.
Yeah. So when we're looking about, when we're talking about C, context, it's explaining what it is that, what the situation is. Like, why are you going to delegate something?
Exactly. So it might be, look, we have this really tight deadline that we've been given in order to roll out this project. There aren't too many people in the team that have the specific skill set that you have. We need to get it done in a certain amount. So you're actually providing context and background. That's the importance, the why.
And the why,
exactly. And so that's what really, anything else we want to add to context? So it's almost like, so this is a situation and the background surrounding the thing that I want you to do.
Yeah, so it's really, and the reason that you're doing it too.
Yeah.
So that's the C. The R is resources. So what resources do you think you need? Like, what are the inputs that you need to get this done? And little things like some of the resources are going to be people, and it could be programs, applications, technical support. They're all the resources, inputs in order to get this done.
And the thing about this is that the person that you're delegating to won't know that. And that's why you actually, as a manager, need to take a little bit of the lead on this. These are the resources that I think will be useful for you. And then this could be an iterative conversation, the CROW conversation.
Yeah.
So you're outlining, look, the resources that I think will be most important to you is Sally in accounting, this
Excel
report.
spreadsheet or
exactly.
whatever. Yeah.
So actually you need to be a little bit directive. Don't say, so what resources do you think you'll need? Because they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
So you be a little bit more directive in the resources. And once you step into the next one, which is outputs or outcomes, you might actually step back into resources again. There might be a little bit of a sort of an iterative process here. So the next one we look at outcomes and outputs. So what is it that you expect this person to deliver or to come up with or to produce?
That's right. And what are the standards that you want to see?
Great.
Like me, 80%
That's
is
right.
enough in the first draft.
Yes.
And when you're clear about, a really specific description of the outcome that you want, then that person is clear about, and also give them an example, show them,
Perfect.
I know it seems basic, but a lot of people assume.
Totally. And one way to do that is to describe, if you were to do a fantastic job on this, it would look like X. If you were to do a substandard job on this, it would look like Y.
Yeah, right.
So the more descriptive that you can be, the better. And encourage by asking them questions. Is there anything you want to ask a little bit more. This doesn't have to take long at all. Like, they think delegation is a big, hairy beast. It's not really. But just start small. Develop your muscle around delegating things. It can be delegating the running of a meeting. It could be the delegating of a production report.
Because outcomes and outputs is really like, what is success going to look like?
Great. And then the last one is the W, the whens.
Yeah.
You know, when does this report or project need to be delivered? When is the first milestone? When do you want to see the first draft? It's those sorts of things. So it's about the timing, the whens.
Yep. So with delegation, we really encourage you to start practicing and not just, at home, work. You can also do it at work, like delegation. But it's all, because... And it's interesting, like with your personality type, notice whether or not there are some people that it's easier for you to delegate to rather than others. Is it a trust thing? Is it an unconscious bias? Is it skills and competency? Notice all those factors really lead into artful delegation.
I know, it's such a beautiful thing when you can, talk to somebody and encourage them, to use their gifts. And that's why I'm giving you this task, because I've seen that you've got a strength in this area, and that's why I want to delegate this to you. It ticks so many boxes.
Yeah.
So our top 3 skills for people leadership: feedback, coaching, and delegation. So, you're going to delegate that to me? Okay. All right, bye for now.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the People Leaders Podcast. For show notes and other resources, please visit us at peopleleaderspodcast.com. And while you're there, you can subscribe for future episodes so you can continue your own leadership journey. And please be sure to share this and other episodes with your friends and colleagues. The People Leaders Podcast is brought to you by the Experts on Air Podcast Network.